right? Of just like,
Yeah.
being able to slow down and breaking some of those, automatic thoughts and habits of the brain that people have that like stop them. They're like,
Oh God, and there's so many that we all have that we could question and pull apart. And I think, we just got to start with the ones that are the most helpful or
yeah.
unhelpful and then move from there.
We are about to embark on an immersive journey through the corridors of our minds. Stand by as we prepare for departure.
Welcome aboard, everyone, to the Productivity with Peace of Mind podcast adventure. Our journey will begin in just a moment. Inhale deeply and exhale. Our voyage takes us on a captivating tour, diving deep into the intricate layers of our thoughts and imagination. Brace yourselves for the complexities of our evolution. For a safe and enjoyable journey, stay seated, secure your helmet and protective goggles, and keep hands, feet, and legs inside while the ride is moving. Now relax and enjoy.
Today we have with us Alex Davids, who is introducing to us this idea of this quiet rebellion against the speed, the urgency, this constant action and reaction in this very fast and busy world that we're all finding ourselves in today's world. And she also has an upcoming book called The Stillness Rebellion, which I, for one, will be one of the first to order because what more do we need right now than to slow down, than to learn to be still, than to allow life to come to us versus running and chasing and running ourselves ragged and out of energy to go get and go, just have that aggressive chasing energy. So welcome, Alex. We're so excited to have you here today.
Thanks, Lindsay. It's lovely to be with you and be able to talk about this topic.
Yeah. When do you think this idea of like speed and chasing became this definition of success for us in today's world? Like, who decided that that was like okay or healthy or good?
Well, as with anything in culture, there's always, or there is often, unseen step-by-step progression towards something, towards a movement. And then we do what Malcolm Gladwell explains so beautifully. We hit a tipping point and then we just start running with that as the norm. So I would say it's not something that was decided, but it was a slow progression towards what we humans love to think about, which is being productive and being able to do a lot in the world and deliver things that we want to deliver. So lots and lots of things have built to this point. I mean, I won't go back all the way into evolution and talking about that side of things because there are amazing people who do that very, very well. But the buildup of moving into workplaces and staking our claim to things. It's got a lot to do with us having concepts around the more we have and the more we do, the more quote unquote successful we are. And that's been building for a very, very long time, for generations. But of course, now with the introduction of social media and technology, all of the things that we're doing, having, and being are under a spotlight. And so when it's under a spotlight, we suddenly feel that we need to have more and show more and do more. And I think most of us can relate to this sensation that when we look at what our peers are doing, either personally in social media or in professional lives through LinkedIn and other offerings that are out there, we start to see what looks like people doing more than we are, or better than we are, or those sorts of crazy conversations. And then there becomes this energy that I need to be doing all of that too. When we all know that the reality is just not that straightforward. Um, there's so much to be said on this topic, but we come to a point where now we also have technology that's helping us, and again, I'll go quote unquote helping us to be able to be faster and more productive. But um, where I've come to after working for a long time in organizations and with CEOs and executives on their ability to be as high performing as they can be, but in a sustainable way, is that there is an energy that is trying to now compete with the technology. So if AI is keeping up and going really fast, we need to be like AI and we need to be able to think that quickly and move that quickly, when actually what humans are really good at is being creative and intellectual and deep and emotional and utilizing, coming back to utilizing all of the tools that are natural to us to bring those things into the realm instead of trying to be like the machine or the technology. Of course, we can learn to enhance what we're doing using technology, but competing with it is just a lost cause.
Right. Yeah. And when we go through our everyday life or our business or our professional life or whatever it is we're doing, acting like we're running from that tiger, when you reference
Yeah.
evolution, it's like we end up becoming that bull in the china shop. We make more mistakes. We make more of a mess of things because
Yeah.
we're rushing and we're not, like you said, we're optimized in that slow, creative, spacious space within us and within our life to be able to actually like create the results we want versus just like you said, rush and try to keep up with like AI, which like no thanks.
Yeah. And not possible.
So
It's so what a foolish thing to do to try to outrun the tiger. And actually, humans, the reason that we are where we are is because we're clever and we've got amazing brains. But what I spend my time working with people on is understand how do you get the brain, the body, the humanness that you are into a state where it can function at its best and for the longest amount of time. Um, and unfortunately, our workplaces have evolved in a way that doesn't actually support the most creative, most intelligent versions of ourselves. And so this sort of rebellion that I'm talking about is, yeah, the leaders that we have in our organizations really will need to be brave enough to rebel against what this tipping point is saying we should be doing with speed and chaos and crazy and busy and adding, and actually pull back and be able to say, hey, if we create environments where people can have more space, more thinking time, even just ways to operate that are uniquely them, because of course we all sit on a beautiful spectrum of neurodiversity, then we will be able to get the best out of the people that are showing up in our organizations.
yeah, it's such a good point to like kind of call out our leaders in the spaces because if they don't change, no one else is going to change. If the expectation from the top down continues to be like rush, answer every Slack message that you get, every, Teams message, whatever, wherever you're communicating with your teams, every text, every call within seconds, minutes, that immediacy, you're not actually getting anything meaningful done. And you're actually
Yeah.
just stressing yourself out, therefore being less and less able to actually solve problems. Like I know for me, anytime throughout my life that I've actually been able to slow down and get more creative and actually that sounds so scary, right? Step away from the problem, like, right? Take a break and I come back, I'm able to solve it much more quickly and better.
Yeah, well, think about where do you have your best ideas? It's not in a boardroom with 12 people yelling and organizing and under pressure.
Yeah,
I mean, very occasionally we can get some interesting questions in those sorts of
sure.
spaces,
Of course.
but usually it'll be out for a run, right? Or a walk,
Yeah.
or when you're falling asleep or in the middle of the night and you wake up. It's when you've got spaciousness and you're not focused on the problem. We did a really fun exercise with a company at the beginning of this year, so only a month ago, around accessing the creative brain. And I asked them to think of a problem that they were currently trying to solve in the business, just in their own mind, individually, the senior leadership team, and to really hold that problem in their mind. And then we moved away. I said, now move away from the problem. Instead of figuring out what the answer is, start with what questions could you ask about the problem? Like,
Yeah.
where does it sit in priority? What's another way to look at it? All these things. And they played with that. And then we were really fortunate to be in a beautiful surrounding, but I said, okay, well, I want you to go for a 10-minute walk. You're going to leave your phone, you're going to take off your watch, and just you can estimate your 10 minutes. Don't worry if it's on or off, but I
Mhm.
want you to carry the problem with you all the way to the front gate. And when you get to the front gate, I want you to drop the problem. So no more thinking about the problem. And I want you to just walk and absorb the environment and breathe. And when they came back, I handed them a notebook and a pen and I said, okay, silently just sit down and start writing what came to you. And everyone was so blown away with the creative ideas that came to them from not thinking about the problem and getting away from it and moving and breathing and being out in nature. And it's shocking sometimes, unless you put yourself in those situations regularly, to know how incredible our mind is, that our mind will go and access solutions and ideas if we give it the creative freedom to do that. And we can talk about the neuroscience of that if you want to, but effectively, when we're under all this pressure, our brains just don't work the way we need them to.
Right. Yeah. Like, what does that cost? Like, what is that costing us when we do try to just stay in that pressure cooker all day, every day?
Yeah, what a great question. What is it costing us? I mean, our biggest focus at the moment with clients tends to come back to this idea of cognitive drain. And the cost of putting all this pressure on ourselves is costing us the drain of our cognitive energy. That's our ability to think well. And when we are continuously putting pressure on our cognitive brain, then it is more it's not just more challenging to think well and be more productive and do all of those things, but it's more challenging to live our lives fully if we're draining our energy in intensive ways all day long. Then by the time we get three-quarters of the way through the day or halfway, or whenever we get to go home and give ourselves or our loved ones back some energy, there's nothing left. So it's really, really important that we start paying attention to what is draining our energy. And it's not just workload. I think
Hmm.
that's our favorite excuse is I just have so much on. And yes, it's true, we do, but it's not the work, it's the way we're approaching the work that is causing us that massive drain.
Right. Yeah. I'm too busy. I'm so busy. I'm so important that I can't stop and focus on anything real. I just have to like keep putting out all these fires, right? And it almost
Yeah,
becomes like autopilot for a lot of us.
yeah,
Like it's like we almost like automate this stress zone. It's very hard actually to pull yourself out. Like it sounds easy conceptually. When we talk about it,
yeah,
it sounds real and good. It's not you're like, okay, yeah, Alex, I get it, but like I'm gonna go back to my everyday life and do the same thing again.
yeah,
Right?
yeah,
So like how do we
yeah.
break out of that?
Yeah. And so sometimes I just ask people to start thinking about if you shifted your mindset to hear when someone says to you, I'm really busy, instead of hearing, oh my gosh, yes, I'm busy too, start hearing, that person doesn't have the skills and tools yet to
Mhm.
look at how they're approaching things. Because
Yeah.
if you just feel constantly busy, then there's some things you're not doing well, prioritizing what is the most important and really focusing in on that. Um, I quote Oliver Berkman a lot because I just think he's a fantastic writer, researcher, reporter. Um, and he's very funny as well, which I think humor always helps to get these messages across.
Yeah.
Um, I have a little bit of my love of English humor. But he talks about in his book, 4,000 Weeks, that it doesn't matter how many tools you have at your disposal to be productive. As soon as you become more productive, there will be more on your to-do list to put
Mhm.
in.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
can we just get comfortable with there will always be an enormous to-do list? And now we have to pick what is the most important. You will never get every single thing done in your life that you want to,
Uh,
or in your day or your week. I mean, maybe you'll get close, but if you get comfortable with there'll always be more, then you start to get calm about what am I going to focus on? What am I going to really put my energy into? And then we start to talk about tools around managing energy, understanding your body and your brain, and how to regulate your nervous system so that you can do the stuff that you need to do. Um, Not just do it, but do it in a way that you don't burn out, because that's really our ultimate goal is can we move through our life enjoying the things we're doing and not hit walls time after time with health and energy and emotions, etc.
yeah. Yeah. I think so many of us are just we learn and we know better, right? Like we hear from you, we hear from different experts, and then we still push and we still go for more. What's one of my favorite things to teach people and remind people is that sometimes you have to say no to good things, to good
Yeah,
ideas, right? Sometimes there's
yeah,
five amazing things to pick from, and you get to pick one, right? To
yeah.
save your energy, to save your brain space.
Yeah, I'd agree with that entirely. I think we often think, oh, well, just say no to the stuff you don't want to do.
Right,
But
right.
sometimes you have to say no to the stuff you do want to do.
Yes.
Yeah,
That's the hardest
it's
part,
not
right? Because you're like,
easy.
well, wait, now I have to turn down good ideas? Hold on.
Yeah. Good ideas, good authors, good socializing things.
Yeah.
And we have to get really clear about, well, then what is it we want to create? There's always going to be more, and there's always going to be time to do a little bit of what you love. But if you don't get focused, then you'll end up burning yourself out and not being able to do any of it. So, yes, I think that's a great point. Learning to say no and to get really clear about what's important to you.
Yeah. Yeah. Why do you think that is so hard? Like when you know, but like there's that pull, that draw, that is it just the habits? Is it the fear of missing out? Like what is that makes that so hard to pull out of?
Mm. Well, it can be a combination of those things. Yes,
Mhm.
habit is a big one. I've just always
Yeah.
said yes. The fear of missing out is always a funny
Yeah.
concept. It's usually a fear. I just say
Mhm.
to people, start with that first word. It's a fear. What are
Yeah.
you fearful of? If you didn't
Mhm.
go, what would happen? Or if you didn't say yes, what could happen? And then ask yourself the fear of what if you said yes and you did it? There's always things on both sides to look at.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah, but the optimal word is fear. You're doing is
Yeah.
based, it's a fear-based decision. And if
Yeah.
anything is a fear-based decision, it's usually not a great decision. So do it for the love of it, not because you're fearful of losing or missing out on something if you didn't do it. Um, but in terms of like little tips and tools to reduce your need to do those things, start switching off of the things that are promoting those things to you all the
Mm.
time. So, social media is a really obvious one. If you're not
Yeah.
on it as much, you don't feel like you're missing out.
Yeah.
If you are really clear from a business perspective about what you want to accomplish this year, or what is the absolute ultimate for you in the next 6 months, write that down. We call it an anchor word or a context word, and use that to make decisions. And so when something comes across your plate, you ask yourself, does this help me accomplish this one thing? And if the answer is no, then that thing that wanted to say yes to, you have to say no, or you have to say not now and put it
Mm.
into the next time period or category. But having a decision making tool like that is really, really helpful because I completely understand. Got ideas left, right, and center, not just from me, really, but from clients and colleagues who, oh, we could do this. And with AI, the opportunities to do some amazing stuff is mind blowing. But if you don't stay really clear on, yes, but what I'm trying to do this period of my life or this phase or this quarter in my business, then yeah, you'll say yes to everything and then do nothing. So it is really, really helpful to have that anchor.
Yes. And that's the cost of uncertainty, right? Like when you're going 50 directions really fast, you go nowhere, right?
Yeah,
You're like
yeah,
here, 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 here. Like you're not actually getting anywhere compared to like what you said, you have that vision, you have that North Star. This is where I'm going, right?
yeah,
These are my five things I'm going to focus on this year. And then you go crush that, even
yeah,
though it's painful to say no to some cool opportunities, maybe, maybe not, right? There's fear on both sides of it. I love that you said that. I'm going to stay focused on my trajectory and I'm going to land my plane where I want to land it, or at least in the vicinity or somewhere better.
yeah. Yeah. And don't forget, part of the reason we do it is we get a dopamine hit when we say yes. It's a
Yeah.
biological piece of us that says, oh, yes, this is exciting. If I say yes, I'm going to feel amazing for saying yes. You will for a moment until you have to actually do the doing and follow through. But yeah, it is a chemical reaction in our body that is very enticing. If I say yes, this is going to feel good, at least immediate in the short term. And as humans, we love a short term hit of feel good. That's why we do social media and why we are attracted to all these little things is it provides our brain with an immediate incentive. So it's sometimes hard to work against our chemistry to say, I know what's not great for me. My body's going to want me to do that. My brain's going to want me to do that. But if I were to look at the long term, what am I conserving energy for? And yeah, that's where discipline comes in and really some strong self-awareness.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why I love that you bring the science-backed information to this, because that ability to separate your, like, here's what my brain's doing and thinking, and then here's what I consciously want, right? And be able to actually like separate that out. Like, even when you said that, I felt this sense in my own body of like relief of like, oh yeah, that's just what my brain does. Like,
Yeah,
I don't have to do that based on
that's just my automatic
chemicals.
reaction. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. So much of being able to create what you want has to do with being aware of what your body is telling you. And are they the signals that are useful? Are they the signals that you can take and say, oh, I need to listen to this? That's my body saying this is the right thing. Or are those signals that are somewhat outdated? You know, we have that information from how we evolved, but now we live in a very different world. And that's part of understanding, you know, we talked about fight, flight response and understanding that we have that all the time now. We are continuously feeling fight or flight, because the stresses that we're under are having the same chemical reactions in our body as when we actually really needed those signals for protecting ourselves and staying safe. So it's important to keep asking, are the signals I'm getting ones that support me in today's environment, or are they ones that are kind of evolutionary and trying to protect me from something that really I don't need protecting from?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And it's there for a reason, right? So being able to even like be
Yeah,
thankful and grateful. Okay, I'm so glad my brain and my body want to protect me. And I
yeah,
have the power to separate that out, look at all the pieces, and make, like you said, a decision not out of fear, but out of
yeah,
clarity.
yeah. Out of clarity is a great way to put it. Yeah. I have made a commitment. I am clear on what I want. And now I'm going to pay attention to things that might distract me from that. Because our brain loves distraction. It's so much fun.
Oh,
It's
it
a
does.
hit of dopamine every time we get to look at something bright and shiny. Yeah.
Yeah, that's so funny. And when you're saying that, I'm thinking too about like how like the thoughts that you get to think when you say yes or get that dopamine hits like,
Yeah.
oh, what does this mean about me? What would this look like? All of a sudden you're in this like place of like imaginary, but then when you say that to 10 different things, then because you said earlier,
Yeah.
once it's time to do the work, the dopamine's gone. You're like, wait,
Yeah.
it doesn't line up. This is not a line. This is not like what I actually wanted. Hold on.
Yeah, absolutely. And our day is often like that. If we wake up and the first thing we do is check our phone or read the news or listen to the news or whatever it might be, we're just pouring out dopamine early in the morning. And then we wonder why we don't have the energy for the things that we actually really want to put it towards or the motivation, because dopamine really creates motivation in our bodies. And if we give that away too early on, then when it comes to feeling motivated about other things, there's very little there. And so it's helpful to conserve that dopamine in the mornings and protect it and keep it safe and use it the way that you want to. But it's also important to know when you're running low. And that could be for other reasons. It could be huge amounts of personal stress in your life or something really challenging happening. And to become aware that there will be times where actually it is just physically hard to access some motivation. And if you can acknowledge that, then it gives you a little bit of space and freedom rather than beating yourself up to say, well, it's very understandable why I'm
Mm.
struggling to find the energy and the motivation to move forward.
Right. Yeah. To be able to reflect and say, of course, I would react this way. Of
Yeah.
course, I'd feel that way. And like have that compassion with ourselves. And, that strain on our nervous system is so real from
Yeah,
you
very
said the
real.
news, social media, emails, like letting the outside world dictate that immediate and initial strain on your body and nervous system right in the first moments of your day is like,
Yeah.
I don't know, it's just like opening your bank account and being like, whoever wants to take money, go for it, right? Like free for all, but like really our energy
Yes.
is it's not infinite. It does run
Yeah.
out. We
Yeah,
can't just
it's a great analogy, the bank account analogy. We talk a lot about energy credits in our
yeah.
business and getting people to think, yeah, just like a bank account, you've only got so many energy credits. And if
Mm,
you go around and spend those all in the first half or the first hour of your day, you're going to really struggle for the rest of the day because you can put them back in, but they take a lot longer to save up than it does just to spend them. As we all know, it's much easier to spend than to save. So paying attention to where you're spending and not just the obvious ways in where we're spending. Like I think most people will know and are aware that if you are looking at social media or you're on your phone, you're taking in emails and the news, you're spending energy on that. But
yeah.
maybe what we're not aware of is that our mind flipping between things and there's this wonderful study around continuous partial attention. And if you are continuously giving your attention to lots of little things, that has an incredible impact on your cognitive energy. So it's becoming aware of the things that maybe are leaking energy out from you without you knowing. So the subtle energy drains. And the more you start to pay attention to, oh, yeah, that is having an effect on me, or even just paying attention to things for longer than is natural for you without getting some recovery in between creates cognitive drain. So, lots of little things that we can be doing better to ensure our energy is sustainable.
Yeah. What does that recovery look like with the brain and with our nervous system and those credits of energy that you're talking about? Where does that begin? How do we actually recover that?
It's a good question. And it's different for everyone. I mean, there's lots of similar things and lots of things that are consistent across humans. But when it comes to things that fill your cup, those can be quite individual. So we get people to think about it on a daily basis, a weekly basis, a monthly basis, and look at it in an annual basis and look at it in those pockets. So, in a day, what gives you back energy? Probably hydrating, drinking lots of water, eating the right foods, getting a bit of movement. Although movement does take some energy, it actually replaces it quite quickly as well. Um, but then it could be things like getting outside, getting into sunlight. It could be talking to someone that gives you lots of energy, that you get lots of great positive feedback when you talk to them, or just a good energy about them. Could be a piece of work that you're doing that is really energizing. So it doesn't have to be away from work. So there are all these little things in your day that you can, I know for me, that our main things I focus on are water, really drinking lots of water, and my breath. And I know that probably like you, Lindsay, and lots of my client work, I am sitting and listening for long periods of time.
Yeah.
And my optimal focus is not an hour, it's more like 20 minutes. So drinking water regularly through that time helps restore me over and over and over again. Learning to breathe well and doing deep, good diaphragmatic breathing helps to keep my nervous system calm and my brain alive and awake. So I do lots of little things like that. And then when I can, I get up and I move, I walk around, I maybe just stand outside. If I'm working from home, which I often do, I'm really conscious of eating my lunch outside and just taking the 10 minutes it takes you to eat whatever you're eating outside. Um, then you can look across the year and you can look at what breaks am I getting? Are my holidays real holidays? Are they actually recovery holidays?
Mm,
Or are they holidays where I'm busy with children or I've decided to go and have a party with my friends for a week? Or and then you have to be honest, that wasn't a restorative holiday. I don't
yeah.
feel more energized. Um, so, how are you managing your structure, what we call your neural side, um, in order to reflect regular enough recovery periods for yourself? Um, Most people, the best one to look at is your week and look at the rhythm of your week. What happens in a day? Is it a really intense day? Then what do you need to do before and after that day? What do you do quietly in between the things in that day? So lots and lots of little ideas, but the large piece is you're giving your brain space and time, more space than and then time, so more energetic recovery than time recovery. You don't need to work for an hour and take an hour off, but don't run from one meeting straight into the next meeting. Get good at things like finish the meeting at 45 minutes, finish it at 50 minutes. Do not go straight onto your emails in between your meetings and check what's
Mm-hmm.
going on. Just take the space, write down your actions, get some more, then move into the next one. But it's when we move from one to the next to the next to the next, and people often say, "Oh, I just don't have a lot of control if meetings are put in my diary." I always say at the beginning of the meeting, just say, "Hey, just a heads up, I have to leave at 10 minutes too," and set the expectation that you're creating that extra little bit of space. Most of us, if we were told you have to finish this meeting in 45 minutes, could finish it in 45 minutes.
Oh yeah.
So occasionally it's not possible, but a lot of the time it's very, very possible. And so I just encourage organizations and leaders and individuals to think about, do you really need to be running your meetings in that way?
Right. I think it's always so amazing to me how scary, but not just for other people, but for myself too, it can be to like slow down and
Yeah.
take those 5 minutes, take those 15 minutes, right? And you feel like, oh, but if I don't just do this one more thing or this one more email or one more task, whatever it is, you, it's just that constant chasing that we were talking about earlier, but it's or even something you mentioned earlier in that response is doing the things that do actually fill you up more first, which is like for example, you said it could be work that fills you up or that excites you.
Yeah.
Like, what if you did that first? I think there's almost like this guilt feeling of like, oh, but if I do that, then I'm not getting to this other thing that I don't want to do, and that's going to weigh over me. But in reality,
Mm.
doing the thing that excites you could actually jazz you up and give you that energy to then go tackle the harder thing.
Yeah, potentially give it just refueling you a little bit. I mean, look, I am a big believer, and the neuroscience points to it to make sure that if there is a big thing that you need to tackle, you do it when you have the best energy. Don't
Mm,
leave it till you're depleted and now
right,
you just
right.
have to get it done. It
Yeah.
just makes no sense from energy credit perspective. Do the
Yeah.
thing that's hard while you've got lots of energy and
Yeah.
um, most people don't realize that we only have about 4 hours of cognitive energy available to us every day. And
Mm,
so we work these 8 hour plus days and we think, oh, well, I'll get to that. I've got the whole day. And we leave it, we leave it, we leave it. And we get towards, 3 o'clock and we start going, okay, now I'm going to have to do this. And you're doing it on the lowest fuel resource that you have. So it's going to be harder. It's going to take more energy and it is going to take longer rather than take the thing that you really didn't want to do and tackle it when you're like bright and awake and energized. And it will take you half the time.
mm,
Your mind will be clearer. And my goodness, if we all know that incredible feeling of getting something big finished and going, oh gosh, I'm so glad I just did that. I really encourage people to think about what is their best time of the day to do the hard work. For a
mm,
lot of people, I would say most is probably fair from what we've seen and studied and heard that most are morning people. Maybe not
mm.
first thing, but somewhere in that morning
Sure.
space. And then there's a handful who are afternoon people and early evening people, but largely we tend to, what do we do in businesses in the mornings? We tend to hold all our team meetings. Say, we'll do our planning and we'll do our catch ups and we'll have a coffee. And you're wasting all this incredible cognitive energy on a really light task. Say, do
Yeah.
your team meetings in the afternoon. I know people don't have as much energy, but you don't need them to. You
True.
don't need their brains to be really activated at that time.
Right. Yeah, that's such a good point. Yeah, just really understanding your energy and like balancing that and like putting the pieces where they make sense because oh my gosh, I know for sure, and I know a lot of the listeners do as well, but like that feeling of like being like, oh, I'll get to that. I have all day. And then you
I
get to
have
the
all
end of the
day.
day, you're exhausted, you're probably irritated, right? Because you've spent all your willpower and everything else. And then you have to tackle this huge thing and it takes like forever and you're just dragging through it. And it's so
Yeah,
painful when it doesn't really
yeah.
have to be that hard.
Yeah, it's exactly it. But we make our lives much harder. It's what we always say to people, it's not the hours that you work that matter, it's how you work those hours that is important. And
Yeah.
so if you can think about, well, how am I working these? Then you'll get some insight into, yeah, what is the most effective way. Because don't we all just want work and life to feel a bit easier and lighter? We just make it very, very hard on ourselves sometimes by not paying attention. And that's largely, um, yeah, what we say people need to spend more time doing is pay attention to you, pay attention to what's easier, harder, how you're laying out your day. And there's always pushback around, I don't have that much control of my day, and other people, my business is set up this way. And I say, you've got way more control and choice than you think you do. You have to ask good questions of yourself, and also be brave enough to take to your teams and to your families, even sometimes, hey, is this working for everybody? Is this actually allowing us to be our best? And ask the question, because more often than not, we don't do that. We just keep going with the status quo and with what this big energy is forcing us into. We move with the crowd. I always think the river's going fast, so we just sit on the rubber ring and keep flowing instead of saying, oh, whoa, hold on, is this a direction I want to be going in at all?
Right. Yeah. Like, oh, I was told to, so I have to, but like, wait, do you have to for sure?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is this the only way? Oh.
Right. There's been times in the past for me where, like, for example, in HR, you're partnered with operations teams and you're put in these meetings, and sometimes the operations meetings will literally go 8 hours, and like
Mm,
1 or 2 hours of that is HR related. So I would
right.
ask nobody else asked the question, but I was like, wait, I feel like I could be doing like be so much more productive doing other things.
Yeah.
The other 6 hours, what do you think? And like most people be like, oh my gosh, I would never ask that. But I did. I raised my hand and then we made adjustments because it was an
Yeah,
option.
great.
Okay, so you don't know until you find out.
Absolutely. I think we spend quite a bit of time with companies talking about their meetings. And yeah, first of all, is the meeting really necessary? Second
Yeah.
of all, are these the people who need to be here? Do they
Yes.
need to be here the whole time? Maybe they come in for the hour and then they go. Is there another way we could summarize or make this more effective? But meetings are a absolute shocker for most organizations. I mean, many are getting better and better at asking. I think COVID really made people question because we moved from being able to interact and talk to just having meeting after meeting to get things done. So I think it did give us an opportunity to look back and say, well, maybe that was necessary for a little period, but
Yeah.
why have we kept up that momentum? Let's ask different ways of doing things. So yeah, I see changes are happening. It just definitely isn't the norm. It's the sort of outsiders that are really doing that well.
Right.
Yeah.
And for organizations and companies that aren't there yet, or teams that aren't there yet, it goes back to what you said earlier, which is from the top down, right? That comes from our leaders.
Yeah.
That comes from setting the example, setting the tone, making that okay, making that truly like part of the culture and part of,
Yeah.
that almost leadership permission, right? Because you're like, well, they're not doing it, so I shouldn't probably do it, but if
Mhm.
they do it, then it's like, oh, okay, let's
Yeah.
actually do what makes a difference, not just what we've always done.
Yes. I mean, that is completely true. The messages from the top down are hugely, hugely impactful and make it much easier or harder to get things done or do things a certain way. But I still encourage people, if you're part of a team or you're running a team and you're not getting those messages and that leadership, then ask.
Yes.
And because you're not asking a hard question, you're asking a positive question, an open question, could we be doing this better? And share a bit of your understanding. My understanding is that if we looked at things this way or tackled it this way, we could probably get more efficiency, more effectiveness, better ideas. So be be brave enough to ask. It's always the tricky one around, what if the culture is just really not safe to do that asking in? And then I often say to people, well, if it truly isn't a safe culture, like a psychologically safe place to voice those questions, it would be asking if it's a place that you want to be. Um, and there's always that choice and that question to be asked.
Yeah. Yeah, I love the bravery piece that you're calling out, and like the self, you know, that inner gumption within yourself to step up, to ask, even if it's not there. And then if it's truly not there, is that where you want to be? And are you in the right places? Because that goes back to the control that we believe we may or may not have, right? Like, oh, I can't
Yeah.
change it, but actually it could change everything. You could turn the whole
Yeah.
thing upside down. New job, new organization, new city. Like you can make those changes, and we have that autonomy. We have that ability to go somewhere else or do something
We
different.
do. Yeah. And look, this is a big conversation, really, because of course there are people who feel they can't leave. They've got families to
Yeah.
take care of. They've got, they need the money to come in, and leaving a job right now just isn't the right thing for them. And I work with lots of people who can feel that way. So my question always comes back to, I've just written a piece on control versus choice. And people
Mm,
have this belief that, oh, well, I guess just take care of the things you can control. And what I encourage people to think about is realistically, what do you have control over? Very little.
hmm.
And COVID probably taught us that actually, that we
Yeah.
thought we had all this control, and actually we don't. At any time, the rug can get pulled. So instead of thinking about what can I control, what do I have choice around? So if you're feeling in a position where you don't have choice about being there, then what other things do you have choice around? They can be your attitude, your mindset, the smallest things. Like, okay, when I wake up in the morning, what am I going to choose to tell myself? My thinking patterns, I can make choices around those. So we use this little acronym called CAR. There's always three choices. They are, can I change it? If you don't want to change it or you can't change it, can I accept it? Same
Mm,
thing. Can I accept this? And if I can't accept it, can I remove myself from it? So change,
mm,
accept, remove are generally the three best choices that we have in front of us. And they may not always be ones we want, but they are choices. And when you feel that you've made a choice, you feel far more ownership and ability to take on what's in front of you. There's always choice. I mean, we look at these amazing examples in the world of the Viktor Frankls and the concentration camps, or Nelson Mandela. And, I think his amazing quote was, you can only ever be a prisoner in your mind.
yeah.
And so, no matter how hard our circumstances are, think to the people that have been in harder ones and have still chosen to feel free and to feel choice and to see opportunity. And our brains are beautifully full of neuroplasticity, which means we can change them. And so maybe it feels really hard, but if you get committed to what is the opinion, what is the view, what are the beliefs I want to hold that would make my situation feel lighter, then commit to those and repeat them and work on changing your brain through that neuroplasticity to hold the beliefs that are going to be helpful, not necessarily positive. It's not about positivity or negativity. It's about helpful. Is what thoughts are you having that are helpful?
Right. Like that thought and the choice to slow down and
Mm,
become still, right? A lot of the times like we talk about slowing down to speed up, right? That's something I've
mm.
coached many teams and leaders on.
Yeah.
And if they're not familiar with it, they're like, whoa, what? I can't
Yeah.
slow down. What do you mean? I can't become still. But that's what the stillness rebellion is all about, right? It's like slowing down within yourself so that you can actually quote unquote speed up later, which means you're just going in the right direction. You're doing the right things. Your energy is going to the right things and to what matters to you.
Yeah, slowing down to speed up to me feels more like slowing down so that so that you can be operating in the cleanest, clearest, most effective way possible. And then that makes things feel like you're flying through them, that you're
Yes.
able to tackle things with more ease and less strain, and that feels faster.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, slowing down in a personal sense and a business sense isn't about whoa, I'm going to slow right down. I'm going to do half the things I was doing. It's about becoming more aware. And the quickest way to become aware is to slow down so you can see and pay attention to what you're doing and largely to what you're thinking, how you're feeling. Um, whether it's moments of stillness that you bring into your day where you just go, okay, we do lots of little energy check-ins with clients. So are you paying attention throughout the day? Where's your energy from 0 to 10? And if you have no idea across the day how your energy changes, then how are you going to do anything differently? So
Mhm.
bringing lots of self-awareness to the table, and the only way to do that is being still enough to see it. So it might be moments, it might be regular sessions of stillness, but bringing some stillness to your life and to your teams and however you're working creates opportunity for, of course, all the creativity that we've talked about, but brings opportunity for self awareness and insight. And when you get that, then you can start to move from there, make changes from there. When we are moving at a million miles an hour and we have no space in our day, and I don't mean space as in time. Time and energy are not the same thing. Sometimes I can look at my diary and say, I've got a really full day. It feels back to back, but I'm going to choose, and often I hold the word, I'm going to choose space today. So when I'm going between meetings, instead of checking emails or listening to the podcast that comes on automatically, everything goes off. And in my drive between clients, which could feel really hectic and rushed, and I just breathe and focus on processing what I just went through with a previous client and then letting go. I move, even if I'm late, I walk slowly and consciously into the next meeting room because I'm going to provide so much more value for them and for myself if I'm really present rather than running in the door saying, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. You can still be sorry. But you will bring to that session everything that you had promised, and it will be a much more impactful session. So, spaciousness and stillness isn't just about, I'm only going to do one thing a day, I'm not going to be busy. And you can still have all of that, but you can choose to approach it in a state that is with more calm and with more stillness. Um, and from a neuroscience perspective, that is, as you mentioned, Lindsay, just about really calming your nervous system so that it comes out of that fight flight state, which it's in so much. And then that allows everything to come online from a thinking space, from your prefrontal cortex, settles down all of those stress hormones and allows your brain to do what it needs to do to be in a really clear state. Um, and the double benefit is it also conserves your energy instead of pouring it out through all of this rushing, stressy energy. Yeah.
Yes. Well, and I love what you said in there too, that if we're not aware of it, we can't actually change it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's true of everything, right?
Yes.
If I'm not aware of what the next step is, how can I take it? If I'm not aware of how my behavior is, how do I know if that's useful behavior or not? If I'm not aware of my thought patterns, I always say to people, have you ever paid attention to, if you have a few regular meetings, then what are your thought patterns when you are going into that meeting? Are you going, oh God, not this again? Or, oh, I really hate dealing with this person. Or, gosh, I get embarrassed or nervous when I have to present in front of this group. What are
Mm,
the quiet thoughts that are happening and catch them? And ask yourself, is that useful? Is that a useful thought? And the only way you'll ever catch them is if you just slow down enough to pay attention.
yes, absolutely. And that's just a great way to like start reflecting on that for ourselves. Like, what are the patterns? What are the things? And is that helpful? Is that
And does it
useful
help?
for me? Yeah.
Yeah. Otherwise, we just keep playing over and over thoughts and patterns that we've had for our whole lives. And with no, and what happens in our brain is that wiring gets stronger and stronger and stronger. And then this is why they become automatic thoughts. And, people say, oh, I'm a really angry driver. And I say, no, you're just patterned. You've just created a strong connection to be frustrated in the car. So now when you get in the car, you're looking for it. Your brain is already saying, gosh, is this going to be stressful?
Oh.
And so it's just about breaking that connection and rewiring it towards something that's more helpful. If you want to change the way you feel when you're driving, every time you go get in that car, start saying to yourself, driving is I'm calm when I drive. Driving is easy. Driving is relaxing, and keep at it every single time. Keep your nervous system settled. Keep breathing, and then you'll find that after a period of time, you'll get in the car and you will just feel that way. You'll created a new connection between the car and you.
I love that additional question after like, okay, what are the patterns? And then is it helpful? And then what's more helpful? Like what actually would
Yeah.
be helpful? Because, until we turn that around, that's the change you're talking about, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. The first step is paying attention and noticing. The second step is asking, is this useful? And the third is for sure, what is useful if this isn't?
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Oh, so amazing. Well, Alex, thank you so much for being here today with us, sharing, everything that you're doing and teaching and coaching on to help us truly slow down to become more aware, to answer those questions, those maybe sometimes hard questions, right? Make those,
Yeah.
like, identify them and make those shifts that are really going to actually change the trajectory of our life. How do we get in contact with you? I believe you have a
Mm.
newsletter.
Yeah, thanks, Lindsay. I mean, we've got lots of different ways that you can connect with us. So our website is www.nextevolutionperformance.com, nextevolutionperformance.com, and you can email us on there or connect with us however you like. We have very, very up-to-date LinkedIn pages. We post a lot of all of our blogs that we write weekly. My team who are all over the world. My CEO, Vanessa, who's in Sydney, Australia, who's incredible and drives a lot of the neuroscience through her Master's of Neuroscience degree and her application into the corporate world. Yes, we have a newsletter, of course, but we also run free webinars every month that people can join. They're called 2020 Clear Views on the Neuroscience and Leadership, and we do 20 minutes on a particular topic, and then we have 20 minutes of open Q&A. So if they don't fit in your time zone, you can still sign up and then you can get the recordings. So just go on our website and sign up to them as an event, and you'll get the links.
Amazing. Thank you. Such a gift and such a
Okay.
gift of everything that you're, sharing with the world and the work that you're doing. So as we wrap up, we've shared a lot, we've covered a lot, right? A lot of amazing things. For the person listening who is like, okay, Alex, I understand, I get it. What is the first thing that you want them to go do or think or practice after listening to this episode?
Yeah, I mean, of course, there's so many angles that we could take, and it's usually really personal to each person. Where would you
Yeah.
start? But given what we've talked about, I would suggest the first thing you do is just create ways of paying attention. So for a
Mhm.
day, pay attention to your thinking, pay attention to your energy, notice what sends you up, what sends you down, and just become really aware. If it helps, take notes, write it down. Hey, this morning, what was my morning like? Did I go from feeling great to low? But just become more aware. And if you start with awareness, then you can ask yourself much deeper questions after that.
Amazing. What a beautiful place to start. And just thank you again so much for your time today.
No, it's a pleasure, Lindsay. Thank you for having me. It's always so nice to talk to you.
Likewise.
Thank you.
Thank you for braving the inside of your mind with me. The better we understand ourselves, the more deeply we understand the world, and as our awareness grows, life just gets better and better. If you've enjoyed this episode, please take a moment to leave a review and share this with anyone else you think could benefit from listening. A quick reminder that the content shared in this podcast is for informational purposes only. I am not a licensed therapist, and the discussions here are not a substitute for professional advice. If you're dealing with a specific issue or need personalized guidance, please consult with a qualified professional. Your well-being is important, and this podcast is simply a platform for sharing insights and experiences. I appreciate you spending this time with me. Until next time.